everybody, and welcome. We are live. I can't get this thing out of my face. Oh, I got buttons to push here. What am I doing?
The boss jock has entered the building. You are listening to the Sportcat Show.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Daddy has the comm. We are live on Yerg's Radio, Rainbow Radio, Dare Talk Media, the YouTubes, and several other places. I encourage everybody to come over and join the chat. We have a great chat always. Chris is already here to keep me awake and to remind me to have everyone come over to the Para Are Normal Guys, or just search out the Sportcat shows. Like, share, and subscribe. So yes, Chris, you beat Denise to it today. So there you go. You get the Friday cookie. If I could give you a cookie, I'd give you a cookie. So yeah, we're trying to encourage people to come over to YouTube, because first off, in the Para Are Normal Guys, we're being pushed down the algorithm. And I've seen it by the way the stats are compared to the other channels I broadcast on. And they're pushing us down the algorithm. So if you come over and subscribe and hit that thumbs up button, and you get in the chat and comment on the show, it'll help push it out there. So yeah, we're being pushed down because, well, some people are saying that I go to extremes sometimes. Who knows? Maybe I do. All right. So it is currently 1:07 on the East Coast. Good morning to Anchorage, Alaska, and good afternoon to New York City. Good morning, Chicago, Denver, and the West Coast. And overnight in Australia, good morning to you. Good day. It's 3:07 a.m. in Brisbane and Sydney. Perth, it is 1:07 a.m. We are really on the overnight over there. So good morning to everybody over there. I hope you're having a great day. Chris says, I already had too many cookies today, but he appreciates the sentiment. I haven't had a cookie. I just had my peanut butter energy bar, and it's not going far. I've already burned it out. So, all right, well, let's see what we got going on today here. Make sure I didn't hit the dang button to mute myself already. I'm not awake yet. I don't know what the heck happened. So I just haven't woke up today. It's one of those days. All right. What button do I want to push? Let's go to on this day. How about that? Let's start there. We always start out with a little daily history lesson before we get into the crazy stuff. So we're going to talk about old times. And 527, Justine becomes the sole ruler of Byzantine Empire after the death of his uncle. I don't even know where that is. In 1086, results of the Doomsday Inquiry are printed to William the Conqueror in Salisbury. The date of the compilation of the Great Doomsday are historically contestable, however. All right, let's just skip ahead. In 1950, well, let's do this one so nobody says that I'm not doing anything wrong. 1834, the Slavery Abolition Act of 1833 comes into effect, establishing slavery across the British Empire. 1958, nuclear-powered submarine USS Nautilus begins the first transit of the North Pole in Operation Sunshine. Nancy Pelosi has been in Congress since oxygen started. Yes, we should find that stat. When did she first come into office? It was like 1928 or something, right? 2023, former U.S. President Donald Trump is indicted by Special Counsel Jack Smith on charges of conspiring to defraud the country and prevent the peaceful transfer of power. Well, he's now our president, and I think all that's being contested, so that may not be historically accurate. 1971, George Harrison's benefit concert for Bangladesh did 2 shows, takes place in Madison Square. He had Bob Dylan, Ringo Starr, Ravi Shankar, Eric Clapton, Billy Preston, and Leon Russell. Oh, I remember this one well. 12:01 a.m. in 1981, MTV debuts with the Bugle song, Video Killed the Radio Star. And then they successfully killed playing music videos. 1936, Summer Olympic Games are opened by Adolf Hitler in Berlin. All right. Oh, that's the wrong button. All right, this is the right button. Let's go over here and see if we missed anything. 1589, Henry III of France is assassinated. Oh, goodness. 15 years earlier, the previous king of France, his brother Charles, had suddenly died without producing an heir, leaving the 22-year-old ripe for ascension. He accepted the throne, but was quickly faced with confronting France's mounting social tensions. In the late 16th century, France was internally battling over the issue of religion. Catholics fought against Protestants. See, there you go. We've been fighting about religion since time began. And anyhow, they couldn't bring a peaceful transfer, and so, well, he was stuck with a knife in his abdomen and then was killed by the assassin was quickly killed by the guards. So Clement gained access to King's Chamber, stuck a knife in his abdomen before being killed by guards. Guards were a little slow protecting Henry there. 1779, Francis Scott Key is born. Everybody knows who he is, right? He's best known for writing lyrics to America's national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. He's born in Frederick County, Maryland. He graduated from St. John's College before going on to study law under his uncle, who he assisted in Aaron Burr's conspiracy trial. He was an amateur poet. The lines he wrote at the dawn of September 14th, 1814, while watching the bombardment of American forces at Fort McHenry during the War of 1812's Battle of Baltimore, have become the best-known verses in American history. And Chris, you're right. Yet songs are still around, and MTV completely moved on. They do reality TV. Maybe their new owners will change that. To me, you should be able, if you want to, at some point in time, watch a music video, flip to VH1 or MTV. If they want that other stuff, have an MTV Octo or something. Queen Anne of England died on this day in 1714. She's the last Stuart ruler of England. She died after a series of strokes. She became known as the Barren Queen when she was unable to produce a living heir after 17 pregnancies. Her one child to survive infancy died at age 11. Because of this, Parliament passed the Act of Succession in 1701, excluding any Catholics from inheriting the throne after the Protestant queen's death. Wow. The Stuart line died with Anne and her cousin George I of the House of Hanover and ushered in the Georgian era. Chris says, I'm old enough to remember when the Star-Spangled Banner wasn't racist, then it was, then it wasn't, now it is again. I can't keep up with it. Seth Bullock arrives in Deadwood. Former lawman arrives in Deadwood, South Dakota, and succeeds in taming the rambunctious Wild West. Didn't they just make a movie about that? Maybe last summer? I'm not sure. 1944, Anne Frank writes her final diary entry. Anne Frank makes her final entry in her diary 3 days before the Gestapo captures her and her family. The 15-year-old girl wrote, I keep trying to find a way to become what I'd like to be and what I could be if only there were no other people in the world. After her capture, she was sent to the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp, where she died in February or March of 1945. I don't know about everybody else, but in school growing up, we had to read that and write, I don't know if we wrote papers on each chapter, or I can't remember, but we had to read that. It was very, very, very troubling as a child to read. 1944, the Warsaw Uprising begins, and the Warsaw Uprising, failed attempt to liberate Warsaw from German control, begins in Poland. Everybody pay attention to Poland, because there's some weird things going on there, and lots and lots and lots of troop buildup from the UK, the EU, NATO, America. Just history may repeat itself. 1969, the first Zodiac letter arrives at the San Francisco Chronicle office. Following a string of killings, the Zodiac killer pens a letter to multiple newspapers in Northern California, including the San Francisco Chronicle. 1996, George R.R. Martin's A Game of Thrones is published. I didn't realize it was that old. Wow. The first novel in the Martin's epic fantasy saga is released. He would go on to write a total of 5 books for his A Song of Ice and Fire series, which was later adapted into the HBO show Game of Thrones. The author said he intends to release 2 more books to finish the series. Let's see. Further events. English scientist John Priestley discovers oxygen. There you go, Chris. 1774. English scientist Joseph Priestley discovers oxygen, and he thereby administered it to Nancy Pelosi. So, 1781, British troops under the rule of General Charles Cornwallis occupy Yorktown, Virginia, where they would be defeated less than 3 months later, prompting the end of the Revolutionary War. We're going to talk about some of that today. 1793, France becomes the first country to use the metric system. Why? I had to study it, and I remember something about tens. I don't know. American author Herman Melville, most famous as the author of Moby Dick, is born in New York City. Is Moby Dick misgynecological, however you say that word, misogynist? Is that a misogynist book or racist or something? I don't know. 1831, the London Bridge officially opens to traffic. 1834, British abolishes the slave trade throughout the empire. The American quarter featuring George Washington's face goes into circulation. Wonder what that coin's worth. 1836, the Summer of Olympics, now famous for the feats of the American track and field star Jesse Owens, begins in Berlin, soon dashing Adolf Hitler's hopes of using the games to showcase Aryan supremacy. Well, can't win them all, right? 1943, the American patrol boat PT-109 is sunk by a Japanese destroyer during the Solomon Islands campaign of World War II, with its crew largely surviving thanks to the heroics of boat commander and future U.S. President John F. Kennedy. 1966, Charles Whitman kills 16 and wounds 31 in Austin, Texas, Austin, Texas, first murdering his wife and mother, then shooting at random passerbys from the clock tower at the University of Texas, Austin. We've had crazy people for a long time. 1972, the first article exposing the Watergate scandal by reporters Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein appears in the Washington Post. The Lindau Man on display in the British Museum in 2010. In 1984, peat cutters in Cheshire, England, stumble upon a 2,000-year-old preserved dog body known as the Lindau Man. Why did they call it a man if it was a dog body? Okay, won't argue. Don't know. Let's see. We'll just move on because, I don't know about that one. I have an interesting question about all kinds of names. Like, why is there a huge wildfire in the Grand Canyons that's not named after any part of the area? It's named after a dragon. It's kind of odd. All right. Today, it's National Water Balloon Day. I'm not going to tell my tiny terrorist that he will bombard me. It's Congressional Startup Day, but that changes annually. International Mahjong Day. I really never got into that game. Respect for Parents Day. Yes. Minority Donor Awareness Day. There is a need for more donors currently, both blood and organs. It's National Raspberry Cream Pie Day and National Girlfriend's Day, but don't tell your wife. And let's just see if there's anything else. National Girlfriend Day we just talked about. And, well, there we go. Maybe I didn't hit the right button. National Wellness Month, okay, begins today. Hey, it's Spider-Man Day, my favorite superhero. Albarino Day, Benin Independence Day, Branham Pie Day. What is Branham Pie? Hold on, I'm gonna ooh shiny for a minute. What is Branham Pie? It's celebrated on the first Friday of August every year in the town On August 5th, Branham is a town in the American state of Minnesota that is best known for its delicious sinful pie. Okay. Enthusiasts gather in Branham to eat pies and also participate in craft show costumes and performances related to the famous pie. Doesn't come in a particular flavor. Any homemade pie can be considered a Branham pie. It's a day of celebration for bakers, customers, vendors, and anybody who loves pie. So you're going to have a day about pie. Why not just call it Pie Day? I guess that was already taken by the algebra nerds. Oh, okay. I don't know. Well, what's your favorite pie? Mine would probably vary between probably a fruit pie or maybe a sweet potato pie, depending, I guess, on the temperature outside. All right, so we talked about journals earlier. A woman dodges prison in auto thefts confession. This comes to us from the Smoking Gun. It says, totally stole a car today, she confided in her personal journey. Yes, I believe you're correct, Chris. I believe you're correct. Pi Day is March 14th. So I guess it was already taken. Maybe they could beat them up. They got pocket protectors. Send the pie people to Cincinnati. They'll be all right. So the woman who made the mistake of confessing to an auto theft in her personal journal, a volume that ended up in police possession, has been spared prison by a judge who placed her on probation for 3 years. At a district court hearing on Monday, Vanessa Guerrero, 31, was sentenced in connection with her April guilty plea to receiving stolen property, which is a felony, and carries the maximum penalty of 5 years. She got off of probation from Judge Krista Jass. She fined her $454 and barred her from possessing alcohol, drugs, guns, ammo, or explosives. That's all the good stuff. She will also be subject to unannounced searches of her person's car, home, and workplace. That's not constitutional. She was charged last year with the theft of a 2000 Ford Freestar van that she sold for scrap in Blue Earth County. Witnesses at the auto salvage business stated that she had bought the van and sold it to them, according to the criminal complaint. While probing the auto theft, investigator Andrew Conchin visited the home of her mother, with whom her and her boyfriend had recently resided. Parents turned over her daughter's personal journal, which contained incriminating handwritten entries. So her own family rolled on her. What the heck? On the same day that the van was reported missing, she wrote, totally stole a car today. Something I never thought of doing, she added. Effing super freaking out about it. Well, whenever you steal your first car, you freak out about it. So I'm told. If Guerrera, who is pictured above, successfully completes probation, receiving stolen properties charge will be reduced to a misdemeanor. She has worked as a DoorDash driver, has prior convictions for theft, pot possessions, driving with a suspended DL, and driving without insurance. But now she can't have guns, pot, explosives. That's crazy. Let her have her explosives. All right, Chris. In case you're wondering, TikTok is helping us answer the age-old question, how to be unattractive to MAGA men. When did we become this stupid as a society? The cesspool that is TikTok is overflowing with mentally broken TDS sufferers, creating endless content consisting of every orange man bad thought that fizzles to the surface of their dwindling brain matter. This comes to us from Zero Hedge, Tyler Durden. We should ask Tyler on the show since we cite his articles so much. One cannot go swimming in there for long before it starts to eat away at one's soul. But this nugget is particularly funny. This person asked for advice on what MAGA men find attractive so she can do the opposite. Liberal woman wants to know what MAGA men find attractive so that she can wear the complete opposite. I'm going to guess it's probably not American Eagle jeans. Oh, someone replied, just be yourself. Just stay the way she is. There will be no problem staying away from her. She doesn't need any help from us. She's doing it just fine all by herself. Somebody posted pictures of the the flag in various forms of bikinis. And someone wrote, I will. Don't do anything different. You are unattractive as you are, and no man, at least not those I know, will find you attractive unless you're kind, humble, and intelligent, which apparently, at least for the last, you are not. It's not look stupid, it's character. You've accomplished that. She's safe regardless of the wardrobe. Just open your mouth and the conservatives will know. When you're an ugly, hateful person, clothes cannot change that. So true. Not to worry, nothing you wear will be attractive. And somebody else replied, I'd say she nailed it. And then another one replied, the fact that neither American Eagle or Sydney Sweeney has apologized, said that they still have to learn, pulled the advertisement, or said they would institute sensitivity training that is woke is dead. 5 years ago, one day of the complaints would have ended this campaign. And didn't Levi's do a Beyonce commercial? Why are we not complaining about that? So, I don't know. History forgets. But it does appear that this woman is working really hard to make herself ugly because of her inside, not her outside. Just open your mouth. That's all you got to do sometimes. Let's see. Chris writes, so the party of inclusion is teaching their followers how to successfully discriminate without reason at an entire section of people based on nothing but who and what they are. Discrimination much? Agreed, Chris. Agreed. But yet, if you had anything to, if you like Orange Man in any way, you're a bad person. Indianapolis. This comes to us from Fox 59. Indianapolis is a free cup of coffee worth a trip to jail. Court documents reveal that one man took a lie too far in pursuit of saving a few bucks. On Wednesday, Indianapolis police officers were called to the Speedway. Shortly after midnight, they were the first, quote, officers to walk into the gas station that day. According to an employee, a man wearing body armor under a blue polo had walked into the Speedway on Tuesday morning and asked the clerk, do law enforcement officers get free coffee? When told they did, the man poured himself a cup and walked out. No identification shown. Just after midnight, he returned and told the clerk he was there for, quote, extra security. He again claimed to be law enforcement officer. Suspicious, the clerk called the police. When confronted by Indy Metro Police, the real 5-0, the so-called police officer claimed to work for the president and other government agencies. Police noted various pins on his soft body armor vest, including a Joint Chief of Staff's pin and Grassroots Army Firearms Policy Coalition patch. The so-called officer did end up inside a police car, but it wound up he was in the back seat and he was wearing bracelets. For stealing a cup of coffee and impersonating a police officer, he faces potential misdemeanor charges. I haven't bought coffee in a while, but isn't it just like $1 or something? I mean, it's not that much. Just don't be stupid, people. Don't be stupid, but seems to be a thing. All right. This one is kind of a follow-up from the Manhattan shooter. And I've been getting a lot of people talking about, is the thing a real thing? Or was it some AI? I think that's maybe stretching it a little bit, but there's definitely some shady things about it. On Monday afternoon, Sherby Nelvik, a cleaner at the 345 Park Avenue Midtown Manhattan agency, began her daily sweep of the glassy high-rise building where she has worked for 27 years. 2 hours into her shift, she was at work on the 33rd floor, came the sound of gunshots. In a lengthy statement shared by the 32 BJ Service Employee International Union, interesting name, the 65-year-old described coming face-to-face with Shane Tamura, The 27-year-old gunman, who authorities say entered the office tower shortly before 6:30, armed with a high-powered rifle, and killed 4 people, including a police officer. She said she heard the sound of gunshots on the 33rd floor and said she left the office she was cleaning and turned the corner where she could see by the glass doors. Suddenly, the glass was shaking. It started falling down. Boom. And this guy came in the middle of the door and pointed his gun at me. She said in the statement, he started shooting around me. I put my hands up and said, I'm a cleaning lady. I'm a cleaning lady. Then she ran, she said in the statement. She found a closet and locked herself in. I started praying, she said. She heard the shooting continue. He shot the door to the closet. I was so scared. While hiding in the closet, she said she texted her supervisor, but then afraid that any noise could give away position, she powered off the cell phone for 3 long hours. She said she sat in silence and prayed. When the gunfire finally ceased, she said she thought about Julia Hyman, the 27-year-old associate at Red Dead Management, who she knew was scheduled to be at her desk that evening on the 33rd floor. Later on Monday night, she returned to her Queens home surrounded by family and turned on the television. And I had to see what happened and why. She said, that is how I found out about Julia. She said police said Hyman was the last person he shot before taking his own life. Investigators are continuing to look for a motive, but New York Mayor Eric Adams said it appears that a former, I'm going to state this so you can get it right, football player was attempted, hold back. A former high school football player in 2015, by the way, was targeting the NFL, which is located on the 5th through the 8th floor. In a note found in his pocket in the aftermath of the attack, he claimed to be suffering from CTE, which they have released no medical records to show that he did think he suffered from CTE, a disease linked to repeated hits to the head, often seen in military veterans and athletes, including football players, hockey players, boxers. He asked that his brain be studied. It remains unknown if he did suffer from CTE. It cannot be diagnosed as a living person with any certainty, though they may suspect symptoms based on the history of head trauma. So in 2015, he played high school football in California at a private school. He was a pretty good player from all recorded information, which there's only one picture of him in football uniform, which is pretty much the only other picture you can find of him on the web. And interestingly enough, it is not a football picture released by the football team. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And it's not even on the same field. So in 2015, he played high school football. His coach claimed that he had no head injuries while he played football with him that he could remember. And then suddenly in 2024, after having no contact with any type of sports, he drives to New York, gets on the wrong elevator bank, goes to the wrong floor, and shoots the leader of a very, very high-powered and high-profile company. A lot of strange peculiars there. 2015, no head injuries, high school football player. You can't get into the NFL via high school, and even if you could in 2015, it was something that they had decided that was a no-no. So he didn't even try out for any teams. How are you shut up by the NFL? All right, so the suspects accused of the viral Cincinnati attack are out on bonds, out of jail. So we're going to revisit this again because it's the story that just won't go away. One of the 3 suspects arrested for the viral beating attack in downtown Cincinnati bonded out of jail after more charges were filed against him on Thursday. Hamilton County prosecutors alleged Jermaine Matthews, 39, coordinated with another person what police say was a violent attack and then ambushed and assaulted victims. The July 26 incident at 4th and Elm Street has sparked concerns over downtown safety and demands from residents and some business leaders for the city to take action. Matthews was one of the first three arrested. He turned himself in Tuesday night on one count each of aggravated riot, assault, and assault. The Hamilton County Municipal Judge Michael Peck set his bond at $100,000 during his arraignment Wednesday. He returned to court Thursday on two new counts of felonious assault and one for misdemeanor assault. The judge set new bonds to a total amount of $270,000. If he is released, he must wear an ankle monitor and he will be on house arrest. A Hamilton County grand jury will consider his case for indictment on August 8th. Police said he is seen on video punching and stomping on a victim with his hands and feet, attempting to cause serious physical harm. He is accused of dragging another person who was unconscious into the middle of the street and punching and assaulting them. There's the three that are charged so far. So Montez Merriweather, his bond was set at $500,000, and he remains in jail. He is charged with felonious assault and aggravated rioting. DeKyra Vernon, 24, her bond was set at $200,000 on charges of felonious assault and aggravated rioting. It doesn't say if she is still in jail or not. During the initial arraignments, police said Merriweather and Matthews coordinated the brawl, planned an ambush, and purposely set it up. Both of their defense attorneys have objected and insisted they were first struck by the man they were accused of beating. The cases all go to the grand jury on August 8th. The two other suspects have been charged. Two other suspects have been charged but not arrested. They remain at large. In the meantime, the FBI is looking into the incident to determine if there are any civil rights violations. Anyone information is requested to contact Cincinnati. Chris, careful now. You're going to push my algorithm further down. Chris says that he has decided he will no longer pursue in the NFL. I wanted to save the breaking news specifically for you to break. Let's get the subscribers now. Oh, Chris, when did you go to high school? You may be a little too old for it, brother. All right, so the mayor is going to hold a presser today, and this comes to us from the Cincinnati Enquirer. Once I figure out how to make it stop doing stupid things. Good Lord. Cincinnati Enquirer, you're about to make me angry. All right, so Cincinnati Enquirer. Nearly a week after the video in a large brawl downtown went viral, the mayor, Aftab Perval, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong and probably don't care, plans to announce how the city will combat crime and address public safety concerns. I'm just going to say right now, it may have something to do with establishing a checkpoint on the bridge coming over Kentucky, and if you're white, turning you around. Did I say that out loud? No, that is fake news. Don't at me. You can twitch me or stitch me, but don't at me. Several city leaders and Cincinnati residents alike have voiced their opinions on the July 26th incident, forcing officials from all across the state of Ohio to discuss what's next. The mayor, who's been on a long-planned family vacation in Vancouver last week, told the Enquirer he would make some kind of announcement August 1st. It's going to be at 3 p.m. That's an hour and a half from now. I'm sure it's going to be carried live somewhere, not my channel. A release note said that he will be discussing updates on the collective work to build a path forward for Cincinnati. Seems to me maybe you should have been doing that, and maybe you should fire your police chief. I'm outraged by the vicious fight that occurred downtown. It is a horrifying thing to watch, and unacceptable and disgusting behaviors intolerable at any part of our community. We know what happened. There's a large group of people attacking two people, a middle-aged man and a middle-aged female, knocking them unconscious into the ground, where she remained motionless and unable to defend herself. Cincinnati police, as we discussed, have charged several people. They said that one was we know the story. We see there what was going on. All right, who has been arrested? We've talked about that. Who was injured? Jonathan Cunningham, a spokesperson for Cincinnati PD, told USA Today in an email that two victims did go to the hospital the following day with non-life-threatening injuries. They were treated and released. Why were they not offered an ambulance by uniformed officers that night? Why did EMS not show up on scene and get a refusal? She was knocked unconscious. Any medical director I know that I've ever worked for, if you had an unconscious spell because of trauma, wanted you to come to the ER. A Russian woman who Vernon is accused of punching has since returned to her home country. Interesting. I did not know that. That must have been the Holly. Hamilton County Prosecutor Connie Pillich previously said in a statement to the Inquirer that she will prosecute the attackers in the fight to the fullest extent of the law. The U.S. Senator said the FBI is in the midst of an investigation on orders from the U.S. Attorney General, but the Inquirer was not able to confirm an official investigation. Are they going to get off because she was a Russian? Could that start a war? No, please no. With this, the governor said in a July 30th statement that the Ohio State Police will be working and in touch with the Cincinnati Police Department, and the mayor had accepted his offer for additional law enforcement. After the announcement on for today, the governor candidate Vivek Ramaswamy has chosen Jim and Jack's for his upcoming town hall on August 4th to address Ohio crime concerns. He's going to reflect on recent events and discuss on how to improve in the future. He posted on his Facebook an announcement event. The incident gained nationwide attorney after commentary from Cincinnati Republican mayor candidate Corey Bowman, Elon Musk, and prominent social media accounts like Libs of Tiptard. Hey, you forgot the Sportcat shows. We plan to invite city officials, community leaders, and any of the victims from Friday assaults who wish to participate. When people feel afraid to speak their minds, that's when frustration festers, and we can't let that happen, Ramaswamy said. He grew up in Cincinnati suburbs of Evandale. So, is crime increasing? Well, the latest crime data shows shootings are down when compared with data from this time last year, but property crimes are up. And they go into state how many homicides. There's been 34 compared to 30 this time last year. And there's been 5 compared to 3. Didn't they just say that they were down? That looks like it's higher numbers. Reported shootings remain down across the city. Report 110 people have been shot this year, so far to 142. Okay. Have downtown workers expressed safety concerns? Well, it appears they have. Let's see. We're just not going to read the whole article, but the answer is yes. But if the bartenders would stop serving them alcohol, isn't that what the police chief said? All right, so this young lady, Victoria Parks, she's a city councilwoman, and she's under fire for her comments. What we now know is this is Holly, which is a Russian citizen. We did not know that until just a few moments ago. Victoria Parks is a city council member facing backlash for comments she made on Facebook about the recent brawl where a white couple was attacked by a mob of mostly black people. In the comment sections, the users post on the incident, she seemingly suggested that the couple, quote, called for the beating, and she is grateful for what happened. They begged for that beatdown. I'm grateful for the whole story. The comment immediately attracted backlash, and I saw one YouTuber has been trying to call her office, but it goes right to voicemail, and the voicemail box is full. I should try that. The post was viral across social media, and it's been circulating with a screenshot of her comment. She still has not deleted the comment and continues to stand by what it said. And there's a screenshot where she says, "They begged for that beatdown. I am grateful for the whole story." Well, who is she? She's a city councilwoman in her second high in the second highest position, the president pro tem. She started in 2022 and has announced she will not seek re-election after her term ends. Probably a good thing. She'll go on to be a national politician. She's a Cincinnati native. She grew up in West College Hill and is a United States Air Force veteran. Said she served in the Air Force for 4 years from 76 to 80. She left the Army as a personnel specialist, E4, was then awarded to the Air Force Longevity Service Award and Good Conduct Medal. She served as the chief of staff to Commissioner Todd Portune, the longtime Hamilton County Commissioner from Ohio from 2016 to 2019. After his retirement, she was appointed to the Hamilton County Commission. In 2022, she was elected to the city council on a Democratic party ticket. Here's a shocker. She's not going to seek re-election. Probably best, because I'm going to guess she wouldn't win. All right, so this was breaking as we came, or actually it was breaking as we left yesterday. Chris, you were correct. She does seem like a lovely lady. She does. Pleasant. The White House announces the White House Ballroom construction to begin. This is a press release from the White House. This was breaking after we went on the air yesterday. For 150 years, presidents, administrations, and the White House staff have longed for a large event space on the White House complex that can hold substantially more guests than currently allowed. President Donald J. Trump has expressed his commitment to solving this problem on behalf of future administrations and the American people. The White House is one of the most beautiful and historic buildings in the world, and yet it is unable to host major functions honoring world leaders in other countries without having to install a large and unsightly tent 100 yards away from the building's main entrance. The White House Ballroom will be a much-needed and exquisite addition of approximately 90,000 total square feet, ornately designed and carefully crafted, will seat 650 people, a significant increase from the 200-person seated capacity in the East Room of the White House. In recent weeks, Trump has had several meetings with members of the White House staff and the National Park Service and the White House Military Office and the United States Secret Service to discuss design features and planning. He has chosen McCary Architects as a lead architect, which is well known for their classical architecture design and based in our nation's capital. CEO Jim McCrary said presidents in the modern era have faced challenges hosting major events at the White House because it's been untouched since President Harry Truman. I am honored that the president has entrusted me to help bring this beautiful and necessary renovation to the people's house while preserving the elegance of its classical design and historical importance. The construction team will be headed by Clark Construction, and engineering team will be led by AECOM. The project will begin September 2025 and is expected to be completed long before the end of the president's term. President Trump and, quote, other patriot donors have generously committed to donating the funds necessary to build the $200 million structure. The United States Secret Service will provide the necessary security enhancements and modifications. The White House Ballroom will be substantially separated from the main building of the White House, but at the same time, its theme and architect heritage will be almost identical. The site of the new ballroom will be where the small, heavily changed and reconstructed East Wing currently sits. The East Wing was constructed in 1902 and has been renovated and changed many times, with a second story added in 1942. The White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles said the following: the president is a builder at heart and an extraordinary eye for detail. The president and the Trump White House are fully committed to working with the appropriate organizations to preserve the special history of the White House while building a beautiful ballroom that can be enjoyed by future administrations and generations of Americans to come. And you can go to the whitehouse.gov and look at the pictures and how it will be laid out. And Chris says, many people have been talking about the ballrooms, but nobody has ever seen ballrooms with such big and beautiful balls as these. Some might say that they are perfect balls.
No, for your information, I have full-size balls.
That is correct. We're just being silly today, and we need to hurry because we got news to go over. We pretty much know all we need to know about rebuilding the public media is under a threat. It's by us. NPR's article states everything the press release says. J.D. Vance, well, he has a hot take on the Sydney Sweeney's attractiveness amid the jeans ads drama. Vice President J.D. Chance chimed in on the furious debate over the American Eagle ad campaign featuring Sydney Sweeney. My political advice to the Democrats is to continue to tell everybody who thinks Sydney Sweeney is attractive is a Nazi. That appears to be their actual strategy, he joked in an interview published Friday. Speaking on the, quote, Ruthless podcast, Vice President Vance, please come on my show. I will record a special episode for you. Vice President ridiculed the left and Democrats for the reaction. The ad campaign that featured Sweeney in the slogan, Sydney Sweeney has great genes, with a J. Critics on the left accused the ad's administration of the message as racist and compared it to Nazi propaganda because of the pun using the genes with J with genes with G. One MSNBC producer wrote that the ad showed an unbridled cultural shift towards, quote, whiteness. Well, if there is, they got to get out of Cincinnati. Fans joked that the Democrats had not learned anything from the previous election in their loss to Donald Trump. It actually reveals something pretty interesting about the Democrats, which is that you have like a normal all-American beautiful girl doing an all-American normal jeans ad and to try and sell that you're Nazi. And to try and sell, kids the jeans, and they have managed to unhinge themselves over this. She does have great jeans. My jeans are blue, and they're quite nice. But apparently it's a Nazi. So this warped, moronic, and dense liberal thinking is a big reason why Americans voted the way they did in 2024. And they're tired of this bullshit, wrote White House Communications Manager Stephen Chung on social media. Yeah. Yeah. Can't make it up, folks. Didn't Beyonce, somebody looked it up for me. Didn't Beyonce do an ad for Denim's Levi's, I think? Jurg says his balls are always bouncing. And you're in Tampa, so they're hot and sweaty. And yet nobody had a problem with the Beyonce photo. I said, that's right. That's right. They did. She did. I forgot. Well, good news. Diddy is denied bail as prosecutors seek a long prison sentence for the rapper. They said they now expect mogul Sean Diddy Combs will face a prison sentence substantially higher than 4 to 5 years, the once thought he was likely to face after his conviction for the 2 prostitution-related charges. They made the observation late Thursday in a Manhattan federal court, the written submission in which they opposed his request this week to be released on $50 million bail while he awaits his October 3rd hearing. If you remember, he was acquitted of racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking, and he only got 2 counts of prostitution charges, which carry a maximum of 10 years each in prison. There's been talk that he will be that they have approached the Trump team for pardoning, and the Trump team is saying they are considering it. I don't think the Trump team needs to touch this. Let the legal system do its job. And the Delta pilot, we reported on this earlier this week. Well, the story grows. The Delta pilot, the ex-girlfriend is arrested in child sex case, accused of enabling and committing shocking acts. She was arrested after he was taken into custody in San Francisco, right from the cockpit. And he was charged with 24 felony counts. They're accused of abusing a young child over the span of 5 years. His ex-girlfriend was reportedly also charged with sexually abusing the child. The Contra Costa District Attorney's offices charged him with 24 felony counts, including 4 counts of engaging in sexual acts with a child 10 years old or younger, oral copulation with a child, forcible lewd acts upon a child, and aggravated sexual assault of the child. Jennifer Powell, who's 45, was also charged with child sexual abuse charges in connection with the case. They said the 2 could face 15 years to life in prison if convicted. It is not immediately clear if either of them has retained an attorney or entered a plea. The outlet reported, citing the statement, that she is accused of having known about and occasionally having participated in the abuse, which allegedly started when the victim was 6 years old. This animal never just needs to see daylight again, neither of them, and ended when she was 11. Our office stands firmly committed to protecting children and holding those held accountable. District Attorney Diane Becton said in the statement, every child deserves to feel safe, protected, and heard when an injustice like this occurs. By pursuing these cases vigorously, we're not only seeking justice for the victims, but also to safeguard our community and take away people who will prey on the children. That's horrible. That's horrible. Neither of those animals need to see the light of day. Okay, so this is where I'll probably go libtard on you. The Trump signing of the one big beautiful bill. You know how I always say that one of the things I hate is these politicians always add something to their bills. There's always one thing they got to sneak in there. Well, this time in the big beautiful bill, we're giving away $85 million to help Texas steel. You heard me right. Trump signing the one big beautiful bill included $85 million to move the space shuttle Discovery from the Smithsonian to Texas. Buried in the sweeping legislation is an $85 million provision to move NASA's most flown spacecraft from the National Collection to Space Center Houston. On July 4th, 2006, NASA's Space Shuttle Discovery launched on a return flight mission that paved the way for its sister ships to fly another 5 years. Now, a sprawling budget enacted on Independence Day will seemingly lead to Discovery lifting off again, though this time not into space, but rather from its place in the National Collection. President Trump signed into law the One Big Beautiful Bill on July 4th. The legislation narrowly passed Congress with only Republican support. Deep within the 900-page bill is a provision added by Texas senators to transfer a, quote, space vehicle to a NASA center involved in the administration of the Commercial Crew Program and placed on public exhibition at an entity within the metropolitan statistical area where the center is located. The vague language is written in such a way to skirt Senate restrictions on reconciliation bills aimed at achieving the Bring the Space Shuttle Home Act, which was introduced by Ted Cruz and John Cornyn, probably pronouncing that wrong, in April. It's long overdue for the Space City to receive the recognition it deserves by bringing the Space Shuttle Discovery home, said the senator in a statement released after the Senate passed its version of the bill by a vote of 50-50, with Vice President J.D. Vance breaking the tie. Houston has long stood at the heart of America's human spaceflight program, and this legislation rightly honors that legacy, said Cruz, who chairs the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation. It ensures that any future transfer of a flown crewed space vessel, will prioritize its locations that have been placed in direct vital role of the nation's manned space program, making Houston, Texas, I'm really butchering this, making Houston, Texas a leading candidate. Bringing such a historic space vehicle to the region would underscore the city's indispensable contributions to our space missions, highlight the strength of Americans' commercial space partnership, and inspire the future generations of engineers, scientists, and pioneers who will carry our legacy of American leadership in space. The bill allocates $85 million to move the Discovery from its display home over the past 3 years, the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum in Chantilly, Virginia, is where it is currently housed. And they say no less than $5 million is earmarked for the transportation of the winged orbiter, with the remainder going to construction of a facility to house the vehicle. Per the bill, the move of the space shuttle must be completed by January 4th, 2027. It does not stipulate how the shuttle should be moved. It is not clear if the $85 million will be enough to cover the transfer and display, given that the first time the retired shuttles were brought to the museum in 2012, the cost for just the preparation and delivery of each vehicle was $28.8 million, which did not include ground transportation. Discovery is the United States' most flown spacecraft in history, with 39 missions between 1984 and 2011. In the process of retiring the Space Shuttle Discovery, which was identified by NASA as the, quote, vehicle of record, such that it was kept more intact than Atlantis or Endeavour for the purpose of serving as engineering example at the Smithsonian. Space Center Houston has not released any details yet about how or where it will display the Discovery, other than saying it's looking into the strategic plans of moving forward. The center already exhibits a mock walk-through Space Shuttle Independence mounted atop NASA's original modified Boeing 747 shuttle aircraft carrier NASA 905. So 2011, by the NASA Office of the Inspector General, found no evidence that the White House politics or any other outside force improperly influenced the selection decision of where the space shuttles were originally awarded by the space agency. It is clear that there are further actions the Smithsonian and other entities could take to halt the transfer. So they actually gave them the title to it. NASA gave it the title to the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian, if you don't know, is governed by, well, the Chief Justice. J.D. Vance, by default, is on the board. I forget. But they technically gave it to the Smithsonian with the deed, and now they're taking it back. So in a sense, we're going to be paying $85 million for them to steal something from the Smithsonian. And if you get into the logistics of this, which I read another article on, and I didn't want to go into because it was much longer, but the plane that actually transfers them is out of service. It doesn't exist anymore because there was only one, and it was put out of service many years ago. So there's no way of flying it currently unless you build another aircraft to fly it. And if you take it by the roadway, you're going to be going from Washington, D.C. to Texas. You're going to have to shut down roads. You're going to have to do major preparations, including in some areas making the road enhanced. This is going to cost much more than $85 million to help steal a space shuttle, which should be in the nation's capital and which should be displayed with all the other aircraft so that children who want to go see them, many people go to the Smithsonian yearly, including children. And if it's at the Smithsonian, they can see that. They can see the Blackbird. They can see the Kitty Hawk. They can see, there's so many aircraft and spaceships or spacecraft that they can see there. So leave it where they can make one trip. It just makes no sense why the federal government's going to help Texas. And Chris says, and the stuff that gets added usually has nothing to do with the rest of the bill. Bingo. It's just the usability of one bribe to another to get things done. Bingo. It can fly to space multiple times, but not capable enough to fly itself from Virginia to Texas. Agreed. It's out of service. Horrible idea. And I'd really like to know if the president knew about this when it was put in there, because that should have never made it. Well, according to Trump, we're getting a MAGA makeover of the U.S. citizenship to make it tougher to pass. The U.S. citizenship exam is set for a major revamp, which plans to roll out a tougher version, echoing reforms from President Donald Trump's administration. Joseph Edlow, the new head of the U.S. Citizenships and Immigration Service, has criticized the test where applications must correctly answer only 6 out of 10 civics questions from a set of 100, which are pre-provided as oversimplistic, encouraging memorization over meaningful education and American value. Okay, for the DOT, they asked them to read The Cat in the Hat. If you couldn't read a Dr. Seuss book, they took your CDL. It seems we could have a little bit more of a standard test. The proposed changes could reinstate a more demanding format, possibly requiring 12 correct answers out of 20. Only 20 questions. The move has ignited controversy, with opponents warning that it may hinder immigrants, especially those with limited English skills, while proponents argue it fosters a deeper understanding of the U.S. government, its history, and its values. Immigrant advocates fear that the revised test could unfairly impact groups like refugees, seniors, and individuals with disability. 2022 pilot program that tested the multiple choice format and added an English-speaking component where applicants described images was abandoned in December of 2024 after over 1,300 public comments flagged concerns about increased complexity and barriers for those with lower literacy. For now, the 2008 test version persists, but the draft for a more rigorous exam reflects stricter immigration policy changes under the Trump administration. I'm sorry, but most of the people I know who have come here legally and taken the test probably know more American history than high school graduates in probably 40% of the United States. The H-1B visa program will also be getting a MAGA makeover. He announced the plans in July to overhaul the program, prioritize companies that offer higher wages to foreign workers, deterring the practice of utilizing foreign workers for cheap labor. In an interview with the New York Times, said the proposed change to aim the program supplements rather than supplants U.S. workers addressed criticism from some Republicans that it undercut American jobs. The reform would shift from the current lottery system, which issues 85,000 visas annually, to a weighted selection process that favors higher paid, highly skilled professionals. The Department of Homeland Security submitted a proposed rule titled Weighted Selection Process for Registration and Petitioners seeking to file cap subject H-1B petitions to the Office of Management and Budget for review. Those specific details of the rule remain undisclosed. They have sparked a debate with tech industry leaders like Elon Musk, who during the transition period in December defended the program, now supporting the notion that it needs to reform. When Musk took the defensive stance in December, Bernie Sanders opposed him on it, arguing that the program needs reform, which inconveniently now puts him on the same side as Trump. Other staunch defenders of the program argue that it is essential for filling talented gap, while critics, including J.D. Vance, argue that it enables companies to replace American workers with lower-paid foreign labor. So they've got an internal struggle on this, basically. The reform requires approval through the federal rulemaking process, potentially faces resistance from business reliant on the program. Critics include former Biden official Doug Rand, question the legality of prioritizing high-wage earners, arguing it deviates from the program's original purpose of bringing skilled international graduates. Although no lawsuits have been announced, immigration advocates will likely turn to the courts, or at least at a district court level, anything can happen. Agreed. We said yesterday they were bringing back the presidential physical fitness test, and I think that's a good thing. My kids here in Atlanta didn't have PE. They didn't have art. They didn't have home ec. They didn't have shop. They had none of those programs. And I think those programs are all good. We talked about this briefly yesterday. The sailor lost at sea was excited about his future with the Navy, according to family. Jose Antonio Rivera Lynch IV, he was 19, a third-class aviation boatswain mate, launch/recovery equipment airman, how do you put that on a name tag, was declared lost at sea July 30th, 2025, following a near 48-hour search in the waters north of Australia, where he was discovered missing. USS George Washington crew member believed lost at sea while operated in Australia was a proud sailor who was excited about his future with sea service, his family told USNI News this week. He was declared lost at sea Wednesday following the search in waters north of Australia. The Navy released his identity Friday morning, local time. There are many things I can say about my son, a vibrant, young, educated, humble. He truly loved the Navy. He truly loved what he did, his father stated. The 19-year-old had been in the Navy for just over the year. He was from Middlesbrough, Florida. He enlisted in the Navy at 17 through the delayed entry program, according to his father. He shipped out to boot camp immediately after graduating high school in 2024. Following boot camp, he was assigned a school for 4 deployed aircraft shortly after it was home parted in Japan. He was so excited he lost his mind about going to Japan. I said, "Look at you." And she said with a sniffle. Despite being busy underway schedule and long work hours, said his son remained close with his family. The pair communicated often, exchanging photos, made an effort to speak on the phone every weekend. The father and son last spoke on the phone around 10:40 a.m. Sunday morning, approximately 12 hours, Riviera was discovered missing, according to the phone call. Said he was positive. They chatted about how he was doing aboard the ship and what he was working on. He sent his father a photo with his gear on and sent a voice message back. You have become the first Riviera to ever go to places we've never seen. This is something I'm so proud of for you. You are the best for me, he told his son in a message that was shared with the Navy. He concluded the message by telling Riviera that he was proud of his son and to keep up the good work. The message was the pair's last correspondent. He was discovered missing Monday in the early afternoon, prompting the Navy's man overboard protocol. The search spanned more than 2,200 square miles of the Timor Sea. Efforts to find Riviere concluded at 12:40 p.m., approximately 45 hours later. I'm greatly appreciative of the Navy for the massive search they did for him. It proved to me that he was one of their own. The search involved the Golden Falcons of Helicopter Sea Squadron, HSC-12, the Saberhawks of the Helicopter Maritime Strike Squadron, the Warlords of Helicopters Maritime Strike Squadron, and two P-8 Poseidon aircraft and fixed location air cruiser Robert Smalls. A guided missile destroyer, the Shoop, also participated in the search and did a patrol boat from the Australian Defense Force. And our thoughts and prayers go out to the family. There's an infinite number of what ifs, but all I can rely on is the truth. Let's lean on the truth. So he was operating as part of the crew in the Timor Sea. So they were on a training mission with Australia. And our thoughts and prayers go out to the family members. All right, let's skip through some of this stuff because we're going to be way behind if we don't. All right, so is AI turning us into dummies? Well, there's a reason they call them smartphones. So AI breaks the connection between learning and competing academic tasks. We learn, and by learning, we don't mean, remember, a factoid. We mean learning how to learn and learning how to think. That's right. AI is trying to tell us how to think and is telling us what to do. And in fact, one AI creator wants to make AI a god. I won't say which creator it is. I'll allow you to search that out yourself. OpenAI, well, the creator of it, he has made a doomsday preparation. Come on. Preparation. Sam Altman, he stockpiles guns, gold, potassium iodine, antibiotics, batteries, and water and gas masks. Why would he do that? Why would he do that? I don't understand. Make sure I didn't hit a button here. I muted myself because I've been hitting buttons. All right. So Sam Altman, a central figure in the advancing world of artificial intelligence, is candid about his personal emergency supplies and contingency plans, describing his approach with, I have guns, gold, potassium iodide, antibiotics, batteries, water, gas, and gas masks from the Israeli Defense Force, and a big patch of land in Big Sur I can fly to. He encapsulated perspective marked by preparedness and vigilance. His journey began with an early passion for technology, teaching himself to code at a young age before launching successful startups, eventually taking the helm at OpenAI, one of the world's leading AI research organizations. His leadership at OpenAI is defined by both rapid innovation and pronounced focus on the existential risk traits that help explain his survival inclinations. Throughout his public career, he has reportedly emphasized the unpredictable dangers accompanying modern progress, identifying such threats as engineered pandemics, artificial intelligence run amok, and geopolitical instability. His reference to stockpiling items and even military gas grenade masks demonstrates not only personal caution, but also the growing culture of risk management with the tech elite. The rationale behind his preparations is rooted in recent history as well as his direct experiencing steering foundational AI developments, influential moments such as public health scares, breakthroughs in synthetic biology, and mounting a debate over AI safety. They've all amplified concern from among leaders capable of influencing technology's future trajectory. His choice of specific gear reveals an understanding of both biological and technological threat vectors. Potassium iodine is a prophylactic against radiation exposure and a nuclear incident. Gas masks and antibiotics indicate anticipation of airborne pathogens or chemical hazards. Moreover, the mention of a big retreat in Big Sur highlights a belief that in some scenario, rapid escape and self-sufficiency are rational considerations. His opinions would yield influence well beyond his survival planning. As a CEO at OpenAI, he is tasked with guiding responsible innovation while advocating for policies to mitigate the downsides of transformative technology. His frankness about doomsday preparations and the practical steps he takes signals that even those at the epicenter of progress perceive risk in every term. Perceive risk in very concrete terms. All right. So the chairman of CEO of OpenAI is, well, he's got a doomsday prepper. What used to be what, Brenda? What? Chris. Yeah. All right. So this also came out. This was breaking as we came on air. A joint statement on the Iranian state threat activity in Europe and North America. This statement is released by the government of the United States, the United Kingdom, Albania, Austria, Belgium, Canada, Czechs, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, and the Netherlands, Spain, and Sweden. The United States of America, the United Kingdom, Albany, Austria, Belgium, Canada, Czech, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Spain, and Sweden condemn the growing number of state threats from Iranian intelligence services in our respective territories. We are united in our opposition to the attempts of the Iranian intelligence services to, quote, kill, kidnap, and harass people in Europe and North America in clear violation of our sovereignty. These services are increasingly collaborating with international criminal organizations to target journalists, dissidents, Jewish citizens, and current and former officials in Europe and North America. This is unacceptable. We consider these attacks, regardless of the target, as a violation of our sovereignty. We're committed to working together to prevent these actions from happening, and we call on the Iranian authorities to immediately put an end to such illegal activities in our respective territories. That was breaking news that came out from the Department of State just before we went to air. It was released. So big news always drops on Wednesday or on Friday. Good God, on Fridays. So the Sun reports a sad day. An emotional NFL commissioner fights back tears on live TV over the deadly shooting. In his first appearance since the shooting, Goodell struggled to hold back tears while talking. Thursday was meant to be one of the most exciting days of the season. The Detroit Lions and the Los Angeles Chargers met at the Hall of Fame game to kick off. However, there was a different feeling this year, with sadness remaining from the senseless shooting in New York. Goodell usually attends the Hall of Fame game every season, but instead he stayed in New York to attend to the funeral of Officer Islam, the NYPD officer, who was one of the 4 killed. It's a tremendous loss, he said in an interview before the game. You see the officer's family, his young children. It is something that happens in the line of work for police officers, but that doesn't make it easy. He is somebody who sees outside the building when we come in most every day, and it hits home. The loss, the unnecessary and unbelievable loss, is something that all of us as New Yorkers feel great pride in the NYPD and what they do for all of us and all the first responders. So it was a difficult, emotional afternoon, but also a tremendous, heartwarming service for him. He spent time in the hospital on Wednesday with Craig Clemente, the NFL employee who was injured in the attack. The commissioner said he is stable and improving. We're optimistic about his recovery. And I think that's good news for all of us in the NFL. Our hearts continue to be support of his family. I think it's something really hard for all of us to understand and deal with. Monday, we know what happened. They found a note which claimed he had CTE, and he criticized the NFL's hiding of the dangers of football. And there is no comment as to his interactions with the NFL and Goodell, the leader of the NFL, at all. Nothing there. Chris says, that news and me not pursuing the NFL more are huge news of the day. Agreed, Chris. Agreed. Michael Rapport, I don't even know who this guy is, but apparently he picked the wrong hill to die on defending Hulk Hogan. Apparently he was a very well-known influencer and social media person, but he defended Hulk Hogan after he died at 71 on cardiac arrest. Apparently it outraged people over 2015 racism controversy. Began in 2015 when leaked audio from a 2007 sex tape. In it, Hogan used the N-word while discussing his daughter Brooke's dating life. The fallout was swift. WWE cut ties with Hogan, removed him from their Hall of Fame, and erased him from their entire website. Hogan apologized and reinstated in 2018. The damage, though, has been done. And apparently, he did apparently this guy did a show and talked about how he supported him and his family. And then since he was such a big influencer, apparently people come out against Hulk Hogan and his past allegations. And well, it pretty much ended this guy's career. So I don't even know who he is, but whatever. So, all right. Mind-blowing discovery. Peacocks. They have lasers in their tails. What? Sharks with friggin' lasers are tired news. Peacocks apparently are where it's at. Famous for their dazzling iridescence, peacock feathers are known to contain nanostructure that scatter light in ways that make their plumage shimmer in hues of blue and green. Applying a special dye to multiple areas of the peacock's tail, researchers from the Florida Polytechnic University and Youngstown State University in the U.S. went on the hunt for structures that may emit a very different signature glow. In a mind-blowing first for the animal kingdom, they discovered the eye spots on the fowl's fabulous feathers have unique properties that align light waves by bouncing them back and forth, effectively turning them into yellow-green lasers. The word laser itself is an acronym for light amplitude by stimulated emission of radiation. Shine a light on atoms in certain materials, such as certain dyes or crystals, and they collectively excite one another, releasing a flood of photons. This kind of light amplification is rare in nature, attracting the attention of researchers who are interested in developing the biological lasers. To become a bona fide laser beam, however, the buildup of the waves must be neatly aligned so that their phases are march in step. One way to achieve this is to reflect the wave back and forth and confine space within an optical cavity. So our peacocks have lasers in them. Yesterday we reported on radioactive spiders. Today we have peacocks with lasers. All right, I'm going to be traveling to Tennessee, so I'll probably miss this, but the MLB and NASCAR have transformed Bristol into a fabulous stadium. I thought this had a picture of it. And I unfortunately will probably be on the road when this is on, so I'll just hear it on the radio. But it's supposed to be a beautiful thing at the Bristol Motor Speedway. Let's see if we can get a picture of it, because it was beautiful the way they had it set up. Let's see if we can pull up a picture real quick here. And pull it up. And we'll put it in baseball. And we'll see, there was an aerial of it that was just gorgeous. Well, this is pretty close. But yeah, it's just a beautiful complex. Let's see, open image, new tab. Open image, and new tab. Did you not do it? Open image, and new tab. Okay, why are you not listening to me? Oh, it probably did, and I'm just not looking. All right, so yeah, this is quite beautiful. We see this is the track. And we see the infield, or actually the field is within the track. This is one of the larger stadiums for NASCAR. It's going to be a beautiful game. So, and you're right, it does look so small in comparison to the track. There's a much further zoomed out view that was really impressive. I wish I could find it. I should have brought it up beforehand, but yeah, it's going to be a gorgeous day. I will listen to the game on my way to Tennessee. Any of the fans that want to shoot me a message about it while it's live can go to speakpipe.com/sportcat and send me a voicemail. I'll get it when I get there. But the mega stadium is going to be transformed for one day. I think it's a great idea. So Wendell asked about this yesterday. This is from Science Alert. It talks about how the earthquake triggered such a surprisingly small tsunami. It goes into the science of the actual wave and basically the topography that it went through and how it was sculpted by the seabed, so which made it smaller. You can check that out over on Science Alert if you want to read the whole article. It does go into detail about why it was so small, so which we were shocked. But if you listen to AI, we're not done with them yet. More to come. Daily operations briefing from FEMA. This is our normal gig, what we normally do, and I'm much later as usual. Got to get better with this and stop talking so much news. This is a daily operations briefing for Friday, August 1st. It was presented at 8:30 a.m. to the president. We don't get the secret squirrel stuff. New significant ongoing incidents, nothing new. They're monitoring thunderstorms in the Central Plains, heavy rain flash flooding in the Northern Plains, Southwest, New Mexico, and Texas, excessive heat in the Southwest, fire weather in the Great Basin and Utah and Hawaii, tropical activity in both the Pacific, both the Central and Eastern Pacific. No new requests. There was only one amendment. They look at the tropical outlook. Everything from the Pacific is moving out to sea and not anticipated. There's nothing in the Atlantic. Keep your eyes open there, though. Don't give up. The national forecast. We look here and we see that most of the Carolinas can expect some heavy rain, while we're going to have spotty showers from the Gulf of America all the way up through New York. Back over in the west, we can see that there's going to be some severe floods and rains in the Dakotas, with maybe south of that going down to the Four Corners area being severe. So Nebraska, Kansas, Colorado, Wyoming, right there in that area, you can anticipate some severe weather. The chances for tornadoes, I believe, are low, but I don't think they're ruled out. I think it's slight. And the heavy rainfall, we see it's going to be pretty much the eastern seaboard, coming around from lower Alabama, around the panhandle of Florida, up through almost the Chesapeake areas where the most rain will fall Friday through Sunday. I'll be traveling through that, so good times. Excessive heat, well, that front is finally pushing down. So the excessive heat is really in Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and, of course, Florida. And extreme heat over in Southern California, Arizona, there at the Mexican border. So you can expect triple digits there. I don't think we're going to get triple digits in the South. The fire weather out on the West is pretty crazy for the next couple days. And they've included Hawaii in the red flag warning, which they don't normally do. To look out for, they are talking about severe weather over the weekend, being down along the border, causing hazardous heat and thunderstorms. And then much of the South, extending up through following the Appalachia, up into Southwest Virginia, can anticipate some heavy rains. And heat, once again, for our Floridian friends. So, and one article was talking about the wildfire in the Grand Canyons and how it suddenly quadrupled itself. And there's some interesting questions that are being raised about that because they're keeping a lot of things out. Brenda says, I will keep an eye on you, just don't stop at the comic book store for hours. Well, I will be there for hours, but probably not Saturday because I'll have Hellhound with me. So can't keep her in the car. It'll be too hot. So there's going to be from the Boston, New England area, stretching all the way down along the coast, down to the Keys, back around the Panhandle, over in the Gulf of America to the Texas big curve there. We can anticipate spotty showers, while heavier rains are going to be in the Carolinas, extending up into southern Virginia. There's going to be some heavy rains and flash flooding at the Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas borders. And we talked about how the Dakotas, well, they're going to get some heavy rain, but that intense band is going to be from the north to the south, extending from Colorado all the way up to North Dakota. And we can't forget about Iowa, Yeah, in Utah and Washington and Oregon, all those places are going to get some spotty showers as well, with heavy being in Montana, Washington, and Oregon, respectively. Tomorrow, those bands of storms, heavy rain will push down into lower Georgia, southern Georgia, into northern Florida, into the Panhandle. That band of storms that's causing so much trouble with the low coming in will move from the Dakotas down through Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma to the handle of Texas for Saturday. Sunday, they're anticipating they're anticipating those storms to be slightly less, but Kansas and Oklahoma should be careful. They are talking about the band pushing on the Appalachian Mountain that could cause some severe weather along the Smoky Mountains up into the Appalachian Trail. Take a better look at that here in a minute. All right, we're going to look at the president's schedule because, well, we do. Let's go back in time and see if we missed anything. And it appears that he went to Bedminster at 4 o'clock. That wasn't on the bingo card yesterday. And he arrived in Bedminster at 5:40 p.m. yesterday. No, I'm sorry. It went, let me start over again. Friday, 9 a.m. press time. He received his daily briefing at 11. Good Lord. The out-of-town travel pool needed to be there by 14:40. 4 o'clock today, it's just Friday today, he is going to depart for Bedminster, and at 5:40 he'll arrive and they'll put a lid on it. Saturday, there are no public events scheduled, but they want the press pool assembled at 10 a.m. Out-of-town travel press pool. Sunday, well, they want the press pool at 2:30, and at 5 o'clock he's going to depart Bedminster en route back to Washington, where at 6:40 he will arrive, and they'll put a lid on it shortly thereafter. So the president's going up to Bedminster, New Jersey. I wonder why he didn't go to Florida this time of year. Oh, because of the heat. Don't blame him. According to my friends down in Florida, it's been pretty dang hot down there. All right, live updates. Tariffs will take effect in a week. The U.S. envoy is going to Gaza, and it's going to be an interesting weekend because they're changing the date of agreement between Ukraine and Russia. Trump orders U.S. nuclear subs repositioned following Medvedev's statement. Okay, this is breaking news. This was since we came on. In a warning to Russia, President Donald Trump said he is ordering the repositioning of 2 U.S. nuclear submarines based on highly provocative statements of the country's former president, Dmitry Medvedev. Trump posted on his Truth Social that based on the highly provocative statements from Dmitry, he is ordering 2 nuclear submarines to be positioned in the appropriate regions just in case these foolish and inflammatory statements are more than just that. The president added, words are very important and can often lead to unintended consequences. I hope this is not one of those instances. It wasn't immediately clear what impact Trump's order would have on the U.S. nuclear subs, which are routinely on patrol in the world's hotspots. But it comes at a delicate moment in the Trump administration's relationships with Moscow. Well, that was breaking news. So 11:15 a.m. discussions on the Great Big Ballroom and its excellence. Well, apparently we're moving some great big submarines. So Democratic officials sue to stop cuts to states' gender-affirming health care. Democrat officials on Friday accused the Trump administration of unlawfully intimidating healthcare providers into stopping gender-affirming care for transgender use. State Attorney General for 15 states, plus the District of Columbia and Pennsylvania governor, said in a lawsuit in the federal court in Boston that the president's effort, including investigations of providers, are an attempt to end care that's legal. Trump has attempted to cut off federal funding for the care for those under the age of 19. His administration has prioritized fraud investigation of providers and sent its subpoenas to some of them. At least 8 major hospitals and hospital systems announced in July they would limit or end care, which advocates say is essential to the health of transgendered people. Hesitancy from Republicans to blame the feds for job reports. Well, no, blame AI. Microsoft yesterday laid off a ton of people. Then sent their employees an AI-generated email that told them if they wanted support to use the AI chatbot as support. Can't make it up. Trump endorses Republican National Chair Michael Watney for a North Carolina Senate race. Research predicts debt, delayed care, and deaths from Medicaid cuts. Well, they're already starting the layoffs, I'm told, by a healthcare provider, which I have family that works for. Trump injects new dose of uncertainty as he pushes back on tariffs. So we're still in the tariff war. Chuck Schumer pins blame for the latest job numbers on Trump's trade policies. And they discuss what are the tariffs and how do they work. Who's paying the tariffs? My question is, where is this money? We're supposedly bringing in all this big, beautiful money. Why isn't it going towards your national debt? And markets are continuing to sell off. 3 hours ago, U.S. Ambassador Mike Huckabee shares update about his and Steve Witkoff's visit to the Gaza. The economy added 73,000 jobs in July as erratic Trump trade policy unsettle employers. Trump is calling on the Federal Reserve Board to wrest full control of central bank from Federal Chair Powell. U.S. envoy visits distribution sites in Gaza as the humanitarian crisis worsens. Dozens of countries with no trade deals face higher tariffs, yes, as of August 1st. All right, so that's kind of the news from Washington. Go to NBC4 Washington, get all the headlines there. Let's take a real quick look here at the radar. I didn't get a chance to check and see what a lot of the weather predictions are, but it looks like currently in Brisbane it is quite cloudy and rainy, as well as down in Canberra on the Golden Coast. Looks like some of those storms are coming inland with a little precipitation. Let's zoom out and go over to the United States. And we see, I'll tell you, there were some heavy storms in the south yesterday. We look and see there's a band pretty much in the Carolinas and Virginias that's causing a little havoc. But otherwise, except for over here in Tulsa, it's not too bad. We'll take a look closer at the storm detail. All right, so in Brisbane today, it is sunny with a high of 62, a low of 49. Melbourne, you've got a high of 58 with a low of 45, sunny skies. Perth, you are looking today at rain, 56 to 59 high. Wow, Port Hedland, well, you could anticipate sunny skies with a high of 75. Up in Darwin, where it's probably going to be the sunniest, is 85 is the high to 70 as your low. We'll zoom out and go over here to the United States and take a quick gander of what's going on in most metropolitan cities. Washington, D.C., cloudy with a high of 75. Atlanta, where I am, it's going to be a high of 92 and rainy. It's already been raining. Tampa, where Yerg's Media is, it's a high of 93, cloudy, and 82. Jump over to Dallas and look at them. High of 98 and rainy. Down in Los Angeles, they could anticipate a high of 83 with sunny skies. Up to Seattle, let's see. They were cool up there yesterday with a high of 77. Actually, they were warm yesterday in cloudy skies. Back over into the Midwest in Chicago, you're seeing a high of 73 and sunny skies. All right, let's jump out of here and see exactly, are there any current warnings or watches up? We look at the heat down here. That is where all the heat warnings are in Mississippi, Alabama, central Mississippi, southeast Georgia, and North Carolina, extending down into Florida. That band of storms over in the Carolinas into Virginia. It's got some power to it, but it's only a severe storm warning. Over on the coast, well, the Outer Banks, that storm over there is actually stirring up quite a bit, but it's moving offshore. The problem will be the pop-up storms later today from that front pushing down. Let's look and see where any warnings currently are. We can go to Weather Warn and check it out. But you really need to be prepared by having a weather radio that has an alert feature on it. So, yeah, Chris, we'll talk about that in a minute. The air quality is horrible. So we see Alabama, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, all special weather statements, and that's all related to the heat, I'm sure. Maryland is testing their messages again. Puerto Rico, you have flood advisories. And we know that the flooding is going to be up into North Carolina and Virginia, some severe storms later today. And flooding is going to extend up the northeast coast into New England later today. And Texas, we're looking at, where did I see? A flash flood warning for Wichita. And the weather statements for most areas are set to expire, but I'm sure they're going to extend them because of the heat. Colorado, Oklahoma, Texas, and of course, North Carolina, Georgia. Flood watch in Idaho, Washington will continue for the next 10 hours or so, with flash flood watch in effect for Washington. South Carolina, as that moves up to the northeast, you can anticipate some flooding in there. Air quality, Indiana, well, it's pretty much a shit show. Air quality day in Indiana. We'll take a look at that in a minute. And we talked about the other storms in Texas and Virginia with causing some flooding. Yeah, the air quality alert has got 1.8 days left to it. I got an interesting story about that, and I don't know where I put it. Where did I put that story? Why did I not see it? I don't know where I put that story, but where did I put it? Well, we'll bring it up here in a minute, because apparently the air quality is so horrible that mankind has changed the seasons, and they're adding 2 new seasons to the year, according to, I guess that would be weather experts. So we're going to have smoke season and trash season. And apparently in those 2 times of year, we're currently in smoke season, but in trash season, the particulates in the air are plastic that we're inhaling. Yes, plastic. We don't only eat them, we inhale them. All right, so our lightning maps, you can go to lightningmap.org and check this out. But we see down in Denver, or over in Denver, looks like west of Colorado, Grand Junction, Montrose, down that area. My friend's listening in Colorado. She's probably got some storms there. Down at the New Mexico-Arizona border, there's a cell. Wichita, you've got some active cells going on. And we look here where that front's pushing through the south, and there's all kinds of storms peppering everywhere from Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, up the coast, and along the Appalachians. See how that runs right there? And it is just the other side of the Appalachians. From the top of the Appalachian Mountain to the east is what that band is currently running. It's trying to go to the northeast, which means it's going to push through Washington, Philadelphia, New York, maybe Boston before it makes it out to sea. But that hot air is going to push up through the south today and cause even more storms in the south. We see currently the worst storms right now appear to be Tallahassee and Panama City in the south, and over on the Atlantic coast in Jacksonville, it's Daytona, Titusville, where the space shuttle is. My friends down in the Keys, it looks like a sunny day down there. So, all right, let's look at, since we looked at the lightning, let's look at the power outages currently going on right now in the United States. This is currently from poweroutage.us. Not currently, it is from poweroutage.us. We'll update it and see that they're not reporting anyone that has less than 10,000 power outages. So that is good news, but keep an eye on that. The number will probably change through the day with the heat in the storms. Temperatures, talking about temperatures, we can see current temperatures. Well, Jacksonville, you're 94, Tampa, 92, Phoenix, 106. You are the hot spot. 99 in Vegas, 95 in Dallas. Hope it melts those Cowboys. 92 in Atlanta, going all the way up here to the mid-Atlantic in Chicago, 74. Columbus, 77, Louisville, 79, Washington, D.C., 71, and up in Vermont, it's in the 70s, Boston, 72. Let's zoom out and go down to our friends down under, where it's just approaching morning, and we'll see it currently. It is 64 degrees in Brisbane, 62 in Sydney, Melbourne, 44, Perth, 54, Port Hedland, 64, Darwin is your warmest spot at 74. New Zealand, you're chilly in 49 degrees. All right, let's zoom out and look at the heat risk for the United States. There's a lot of heat out there. It's still updating. It's an experimental page, but we already saw where all the watches and warnings are. If it doesn't come up, I'm not that concerned about it, because we know that pretty much if you're in the South, you're a code orange. Right around the Atlantic seaboard, it's a code red. So let's just go ahead and move on from that. It's not loading. They changed our air quality map, and I got to say, I actually kind of like it for the better. I hope it pulls up today. Yeah, here we go. And well, no, they changed it back. This displays where the worst air is, and we see that coming down from Canada, it's purple up in Canada. That goes past unhealthy into just hazardous. Well, that comes down from Regina all the way through the Dakotas, down to Kansas, and back up to the Great Lakes. And that area is just in a current unhealthy, just horrible cloudy air quality mess. It's just a hot mess right there in that area due to the smoke. Down in the South, we're looking at from where some of the heat in the larger cities is causing some problems. It's a code yellow. And up in New York City, you're a moderate, but you're still a code yellow. So you're not quite in the good range. We'll look at the fires real quick here. And let's zoom out, and man, look at Canada. Canada is just burning. I'd like to know the exact number of fires they have, or if they just say Canada's burning. Because they have so many fires up there. Come on. There we go. Now look at all the fires up there, extending all the way from the east up to Alaska. We see all the fires here on the west. We do see one new down here. What is this one? 650 acres, Salt Lake in Texas. And it is 0% contained. Let's see if we can zoom into big fire out in South Rim. Now, where's the largest one? Elkhorn. Well, if I can't find it, we'll move on. But yeah, we'll move on, because the one that was the largest, Dragon Bravo, 94,228 acres. And earlier I saw, it doesn't say here the containment, but earlier I saw it was only 4% contained. The interesting thing about this storm is that it was almost 100% contained, and then suddenly it exploded. And it is huge now. It's almost 100,000 acres, very little containment. For some reason, they're restricting airspace to flights that drop water, the smoke jumpers and the water drops. And they're not saying why. The other question that's popped up is, where did the name Dragon Bravo come up, since it was almost extinguished to suddenly it blew up 400%. And now they're fighting to contain it, but they're not allowing normally used aircraft in. There's a lot of questions as to why that is. So I don't know. I'm going to research that over the weekend. All right. We'll look at the smoke map. Yes, let's get to work on the fires, Canada. Exactly. Because there's a lot of them over there. And I need to look up the exact number that there are, but it's incredible, the number of fires in Canada. No matter what fire map you look at, it's incredible. And we see that smoke is just sitting over central Canada, and it's just pushing down into the Great Lakes, Midwest. And as that front pushes down, it's just going to get nastier and push it over the Appalachia, up and through Boston, out through Maine. It's going to be horrible. Chris says, if I'm ever reporting on a fire, I'll wait until at least it's 1% before a good day before I type anything. If it's 0%, I feel like I'll just spend time better sitting there on a computer. Agreed, Chris. Agreed. We got about 10 minutes left, and we're going to zoom through here, look at the air quality worldwide. And as Chris said, it is a shit show in the central part of the country because of the airflow coming down out of Canada and their wildfires. And then in the south, we see that the Sierra Nevada, I'm sorry, not Sierra, Well, Sierra Nevada has code yellow with a lot of smoke and dust, but we see coming over from Africa off of the deserts, that smoke has got a little break in it. And that's the break they're going to be watching, because right there is where some tropical storms could get some activity. All of this is expected to push up through the Gulf of America and out when it meets right over you, Chris. All that dust meets right over you with the smoke and then moves out to the northeast. So, yeah. Just stay inside, Chris. You'll have a much better day. Australia, it looks like your air quality is not that bad. The winter's coming out of the central part of the country and kind of extending bilateral both ways, dividing the country equally. The fires, smoke from the fires on the coast are going to be pushing out to sea. So that's good news for you guys. Alex Springs, especially, you're going to have a pretty good quality day with air. We can't really get a view on the formation of these storms yet because they just don't have the eyes or the signatures yet. We'll look at another map here. This is the AI version. This is our, what do we call it, Chris? Our big, beautiful, perfect round globe where AI shows us what the winds are around the world. We see that little break right there from the dust coming over. That's where they're concerned about the storms forming and possibly getting worse. And especially if the dust storm comes back and pushes them down here into the south, where they're just going to sit and churn and get some energy. So we'll keep an eye on that. There's nothing really forming in the Atlantic or in the Gulf. The one over in the Pacific, well, it's formed, but it's just spinning itself further out to sea and won't do anything. Look down into Australia. We see currently for you guys, well, aside for, like I said, through the center of the country, it's going to be pushing up off of the coast and then dispersing bilaterally equally off both sides of the coast. So be a windy, cloudy, clear day there for most of Australia. Let's see here. We got just a few minutes left. We see here, these are the ones off in the Pacific, and they're just going to push themselves off. They're going to come nautically close to Hawaii, but not enough to do any damage. We look into the states, and we see pretty much everything we've talked about today. The heat, high temperatures in the south, flooding up in the northeast, up into Boston. Center part of the country, your air is horrible, and you could have some flooding up through there. So the west, well, you're just going to get some fires and smoke and no rain. Chris says Alice Springs seems to be the only city in that part of Central Australia. If you own a gas station there, you must make money nonstop. It's true. It's true. Yeah, because besides for calling it Northern and Southern territories, me being not geographically inclined, I don't know the names of any of the other areas. So Australian fans, I hope, are bearing with me in my ignorance of Australian geography. If they want to shoot me anything, they can send me an email at sportcat@protonmail.com or go over to SpeakPipe. You can leave me a voicemail anonymously. You can cuss me out if I'm calling your city's name wrong. I would gladly accept it because I have screwed it up. So we'll look real quick at the event list. Japan, a bear attacks a woman outside a disabled home. All right. So apparently in Japan, bears just come to snack on elderly people. Noted. Estonia, the African swine fever is crippling meat producers. All right. Epidemics. Well, China, they have a fever over there that's becoming epidemic level. Before we've reported in Africa about the dengue deaths. In Nigeria, a major outbreak of monkeypox has been reported. Yeah, just keep that monkeypox over there. Mozambique, 17 cases of monkeypox is raising concern. All right, well, it should. Critical infrastructure. Australia man dies and 6 hospitalized at Legionnaire's disease in Sydney. And Haiti, well, it's always a shit show over there. Portable water disruption. There's a shocker. Puerto Rico. France, the French Defense Company is being targeted by cyber attacks. 5 cops martyred at the Kacha attack checkpoints in Pakistan. That's horrible news. Heavy gunfire in Sudan. Yemen, Houthi missiles fire at container ships in the Red Sea. That's not new news. That's old news. Syria, well, it's always going on over there. In Libya, 18 migrants have died in a shipwreck off the coast of Libya. 50 are still missing. Germany's second arson attack on the rail line in 2 days. There's been several arsons. Well, I won't call them arson because I don't think they've been confirmed, but at the MARTA, or whatever they call the tube system in Dallas, has had several fires. Let's see. Australia, 21-year-old son of former policeman killed in brazen daylight shooting. That's horrible. And let's see. That's new. 22 people killed in Angola in a fuel hike unrest. Well, that's horrible. In Nigeria, they have set up roadblocks. Pakistan, 7 dead, 20 injured in fighting amongst Pashtun protesters. Dozens of captors murdered in Nigeria. Well, that's horrible. Ukraine, well, we know it's a war. Cambodia, we don't talk about the war there, but there's still a war over there. Cambodia and Thailand. It's going on its 3rd or 4th day by now. So, ecological disaster. Several factories are shut down, violating pollution standards in, I can't even pronounce that, Uzbekistan. A Fremont building exploded with people missing. That was in the United States. That was a couple days ago. And fireworks inferno in Thailand. 9 people have perished. And we're running out of time here. Republic of China, 2 dead, 3 critical in a beef noodle shop fire. That's bad news. All right, we'll just skip ahead real quick. The latest earthquake reported was in Japan. Well, in Japan, 4.1, 5 hours ago. 5.0, these are all in Japan. And I can right here. And we see the largest one, I guess it would be the 5.5 in Japan. 5.4, and we're looking at yesterday, and we get to 6.2 off the Kuril Islands, which is in the Alaskan belt of islands. All right. Zoom out real quick, see if there's anything. Well, apparently I'm not going to be able to. Here we go. See if there's anything new. I don't see anything other than the ones we reported on. Those are all over in Asia. Nothing up in Alaska. They did have one. It was 3.2 in Alaska. How long ago was that? 8/1 at 14:19 UTC. What time is it now, UTC? I don't have my clock up here. No, that was 4 hours ago. All right. Let's see. We don't have time to go over the New England Fire Nets report. There's been several incidents in Maryland and Maine. You can go check them out at New England Fire News Network. Get your membership, and you can read all the events in the past 24 hours that have been reported of police and fire activity. You can go to Live USA Map to get some crime statistics in your part of the world. And we look at all of the air restrictions, and we'll probably note pretty much up here in New York, all of this area shut down, probably because of a dignitary. If we look down here in North Dakota, yeah, it looks like some very closed airspaces there. Let's take a quick look over here to they have this area here is being shut down completely. Las Vegas has shut down completely. What are they calling this? Special flight rules in the Grand Canyon. So they've put up special flight rules. You can't fly over it now. And they're restricting the aircraft in the firefighting effort for some strange reason in this area. I got a tip about that this morning. So nobody really knows why, but you cannot, as an aviation, as just a regular plane, you can't fly over it, but they've restricted the airspace even from firefighting aircraft. Crazy. Take a real quick look at any high flyers in the military. Well, we're going to see a lot of activity up there on the Jersey, New York coast to be anticipated with a dignitary up there. It's mostly training here in the South, and we don't see a whole lot of craziness going on. Take a quick look. Nothing major there. They're probably training in Ohio. That's just they're just moving materials and supplies. I don't see anything in the South. Down along the border, of course, it's always active in the Gulf of America with training. And then along the border, there's all kinds of activity, which is not unusual. And we don't see any. I was looking to see if we had any aircraft. Nope, no call sign, not squawking. All right. Any aircraft that was refueling, but we don't have any. That's a dignitary coming back from Alaska. And we zoom out in other parts of the world, and we're not going to really see a whole lot. That's the UK dignitary flight coming. It looks like it's coming out of Turkey. You know, it's not coming out of Turkey. Where is that? Yeah, it's coming out of Turkey. So there's dignitaries flying from the UK out of Turkey. We're going to look up here and you're probably going to see they're going to start shutting down and darkening it out so we can't see it. But we're probably going to see a lot of activity moving into Poland here soon. There's already been some, but there'll probably be more. And speaking of that, there's a Galaxy taking off and probably refueling in Hawaii. So, all right, well, we are out of time. I want to thank everybody at the Yerg's Radio Network for allowing us to tickle your ears, and as well as Dare Media, Radio X in Australia. I appreciate your all's support. We will be back Monday morning. I will be from my North studio in Knoxville, Tennessee. And if you want for any reason to get in touch with me, petrol, you're correct, petrol stations. If for any reason you want to get in touch with me, you can reach me at Sportcat at speakpipe.com. I'm sorry, speakpipe.com/Sportcat. And you can leave me a message, a voice message. I will play it. Don't make me have to beep words out, but I will play it if I can. And you could also send me an email if you want to send me some tips or anything at sportcat@protonmail.com. We also have a group on Facebook. If you go to Facebook and search out Sportcat's Daily Gazette, we have a group there where a lot of people, including those that are in the chat frequently, post news articles and discuss things. So it's a great place to extend our chat. If you get a chance, go over there and join it. I'm begging everyone to please come over and find me on YouTube, the main channel, Paranormal, 3 words, guys with a Z. Search out the Sportcat shows is the easiest. I'm begging you to come over and subscribe. We're trying to get monetized, and we're so close. So if everybody could help us out with that mission, it would be greatly appreciated, and it will help further the channel and anything you're interested in as well. Once we get monetized, we can do maybe some special shows for subscribers. So let's try and get that done. Everybody have a great weekend. I'll be in Knoxville soon, so we'll talk to you soon. Until then, Sportcat, well, you know what the story is. I am out of here.